Next, let's take a look at LARCs. LARC stands for long-acting reversible contraception. LARCs are IUDs and implants reported to be very effective at preventing pregnancy. IUDs are devices inserted into the uterus. There are 3 that are currently approved in the United States. The 2 levonorgestrel releasing T-shaped IUDs known as Mirena and Skyla, and the copper-containing T-shaped IUD known as Paragard. These are approved for 5 to 10 years. They are considered by the AAP to be safe and effective methods of contraception. We'll discuss later the risks of the steroid hormones released by the IUDs, Mirena and Skyla, but here we want to note a risk that is not often explained properly by the medical doctors inserting these devices. The devices are T-shaped and are inserted in the uterus. The problem is that they don't always stay in the uterus. There is a tendency for them to migrate and penetrate the uterus and then move to various parts of the body where they can cause pain and injury. Mirena is marketed by Bayer, and the first lawsuits were filed in 2011. There are untold thousands of claims at the present time, and so many lawsuits numbering in the thousands that they have to be assigned to special judges to handle them. Women are claiming that they suffered great pain, that they have suffered injury to other organs, and that they've had spontaneous abortions. It requires major surgery to remove these devices once they've migrated. And so, if Mirena wasn't a big enough problem, in 2013, Bayer got another approval to market Skyla. And Skyla is only a couple of millimeters smaller and only has enough steroid hormones for 3 years instead of 5 years. But still, it has the same potential to penetrate the uterus and migrate. So you should ask your doctor about these risks when he recommends an IUD. Implants. The progestin implants are Implanon or Nexplanon, and they are both single-rod implants that contain etonogestrel, which is the active metabolite of progestin. These may remain in place for up to 3 years. The implant is inserted by a clinician inside the patient's upper arm. So these LARCs are the most effective artificial birth control. Once implanted or inserted, they have perfect and typical use failure rates of less than 1%. That means that only 1 woman out of 100 will get pregnant each year. But important questions are, what are the risks and complications of these steroid hormone methods? What are the side effects? What are the long-term effects? The steroid hormone methods have 3 mechanisms of action. They sometimes act by preventing ovulation or inhibiting sperm motility, and in these cases are acting as a contraceptive. But the third mechanism is the one that the pharmaceutical industry and medical societies don't like to acknowledge. When they fail as contraceptives and conception has occurred and a new life has begun, they act as abortifacients by thinning the lining of the uterus and thereby preventing the implantation and growth of the embryo. This causes the embryo to die. Preventing implantation, which a human embryo needs to be nourished and grow, is an early abortion. The ACOG Medical Society has redefined pregnancy as beginning after implantation, even though a new human being may be 10 days old by that time. The Catholic Church teaches, and science confirms, that there is a new human formed at the moment of conception. That occurs up in the fallopian tubes, and so it may be as many as 10 days old before it reaches the uterus for implantation. Many pro-life people do not understand the distinction between the contraceptive and abortifacient mechanisms of hormonal contraceptives. Fortunately, there are a growing number of medical doctors who know that all of the steroid hormonal methods act as abortifacients, and through prayer and the grace of God, have stopped prescribing all contraceptives. You can find a list of these doctors on the One More Soul website. Let me give you a little history on the birth control pill. When they first began developing birth control pills back in the 1950s, they were working on 2 pills, one for men and one for women. However, they immediately found during these tests that the male birth control pills, which prevented the male from producing sperm, had caused the male testicles to shrivel up. So they stopped the program because, as you can imagine, those pills weren't going to be popular with men. You can just now think about whether men would buy a pill that had the effect of shriveling up their testicles. In the early trials of the birth control pills, women were dying while the male testicles were shriveling. So they reduced the amount of estrogen in the pill, which made it less risky for the woman. But at the same time, that made it more likely that the pill would cause abortions by preventing implantation of the embryo. And while the risk of death of the woman today has been reduced, it is still very real. Now, just a word about steroids. There are many different types of steroids, and they are used for different things, but they all generally have an anti-inflammation and a reduction of swelling mechanism of action in the body. In medicine, it is usually good practice to prescribe steroids cautiously and sparingly. The inflammation of swelling usually resolves within hours or days. Doctors are especially cautious with injured athletes because of both short-term and long-term effects of steroids. But with hormonal contraceptives, and especially LARCs, there is a continuous release of synthetic steroids in the woman's body for up to 10 years. The difference is that with athletes, the doctor is trying to cure an illness or injury, but the function of the hormonal contraceptive is to make a healthy reproductive system sick. The woman's body is continuously trying to regain its equilibrium, and the steroid hormones need to be continuous, lest she get pregnant. Pregnancy is not a disease. A healthy body should not be subjected to medicine in order to create a diseased reproductive system. Medical intervention is rightly used to fix something broken or to heal an illness. But when a woman's body ovulates and prepares to nourish new life, it is not broken or ill and doesn't need medical intervention. We talked earlier in the presentation about how wonderfully each woman is created. In each cycle, a woman's body gears up to prepare for conception to occur, and after ovulation, the body responds by preparing for a possible pregnancy. Even the name of the hormone responsible for many of the changes after ovulation tells us what a woman's body is working for. Progesterone means favoring life. It's what a woman's body naturally does each and every menstrual cycle. However, when a woman uses a hormonal contraceptive, such as the pill, high levels of synthetic hormones are used to disrupt the natural cycle, and as we have seen, can also have systematic effects in other areas of the body. The pill, chemical-laced IUDs, shots, patches, etc., are powerful drugs used to disrupt a healthy working reproductive system. Most women don't realize that the hormonal contraceptives, taken either orally or by implant or by inserting a device inside the uterus or vagina, have some very serious side effects.